Biden, I'm guessing now, I've forgotten the numbers here, but Biden got like 80% of the mail-in ballot vote, and Trump got 75% of the election day vote. So we're not going to quarrel with the election day vote. The election day vote is not what stole the election from us. It's the mail ballots, the ones that they wouldn't allow us to inspect. I mean, do you really think, representatives, that they shut us out from inspecting the ballots because they were handling the ballots honestly? I mean, do you really think they en masse pushed us out, put us in corrals, pushed us away, went to court to fight whether or not we can be close to the ballots? You think they did that because they were doing a very careful, honest vote? I doubt it.
It's been very clear that I think there's some major issues there. But when you talk about the...
Yeah, but those major issues, when you look at the numbers, the major issues, when you look at the numbers, are astounding. Hundreds of thousands of votes were counted there. And I have no idea what a recanvassing of the machines would do for us. A forensic examination of the machines might do something. And in fact, we would like to have the opportunity to look at the rest of those machines in Michigan. I don't know why you're not looking at them. I mean, whatever you want to say about Dominion, read its history. Read the history of Dominion, and you will get an idea of what a crooked company it is, which maybe is the reason they don't want to show up here. They really don't want to tell you that the two of them that own it are Venezuelans, and they brought the two Smartmatic owners, they brought the two guys who are Canadians down to meet Chavez just 2 years ago. They don't want to tell you that. They don't want to tell you about the 5 elections in South America that they fixed. Just read it. Just look it up. Now, I don't know if that really made the difference in the election. I'm not sure. But I do know their plan was to steal this election based on this massive mail-in vote, which, by the way, we have for 20 years been warned against. For 20 years, people wiser than us have said, Justice Souter, President Carter, Secretary Baker, Columbia University. You read reports on what is the most dangerous form of voting. What form of voting can be manipulated, and where can you carry out fraud the most? And it's mail-in ballots. And we were stupid enough to go to mail-in ballots.
All right, Representative Lefebvre.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney Jenna Ellis, Mayor Giuliani, all of the witnesses, committee members, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate everybody coming today. I think this was helpful. I've personally got a lot of things that are troubling as well. But my only question for this last witness is what specifically do you want us to do? Is it you're coming here today and saying that based on all of these concerning issues, you want the State House and Senate of Michigan to hand the president the 16 electoral votes for Michigan? Is that what your ask is today?
No, I didn't ask that. I asked that you that you take back your power under Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 of the Constitution. That you take back that power, and that you spend the time not just to listen to. I gave you you shouldn't decide anything based on what I gave you. It's just a sample. It's just a sample of things. There's a plethora of evidence that you can go through that will convince you that this election was stolen. I would ask you to go through that. Don't let it just get taken from us, and then we'll find out a year from now what the real plot was. And take a look, to some extent, at what happened in other states. Because the fact that it's so similar in other states gives you a sense that what we're dealing with here was a plan. Not just an accidental, oh gosh, Detroit stole an election, or Chicago stole an election, or New York stole an election. But I think you have a responsibility to go into session, take back look, the people who certified your election, what are they worth?
Can't trust them.
Yeah, I wouldn't have put my name on that piece of paper. Not worth anything. The piece of paper's a lie. We all know it's a lie. We know the figures there aren't correct. They're such wonderful public servants, they put their name on a lie. Why don't you spend the time to find out what the right numbers should be?
I guess, Mr. Mayor, my problem is we have these certifiers who I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but at least in one particular example, they didn't feel confident. They certified the vote. And now you're asked, the legislature is to take, and if I'm wrong again, tell me, to take evidence that, and put my name to it, and say that this is definitely what happened. This is that somebody won. I assume it wasn't Kanye West. I don't know. But to figure it out, and you want us to make the decision, and then put our stamp of approval on it.
No, I don't want you to do it. The Constitution of the United States says you should do it. All right, I don't want you to do it. Please, read the Federalist Papers. It was given to you as the ultimate plenary power because you are the body closest to the people, and therefore the body that they believe could be most trusted to protect the people.
Thank you, Mr.
Not the bureaucrats who made that decision.
Thank you.
Representative C.A. Johnson, are you willing to make a question?
Quick question.
Sure.
Very quick. Mr. Giuliani. Hi again.
Hello?
Do you think that both you and the president are honest men?
Do I really have to answer that question?
Yes.
Representative C.A. Johnson, Representative,
answer it.
Representative, do you have a point of order?
I'm asking the question.
Representative,
I'm asking the question. Do you consider yourself Mr.
Representative, you're out of order. Out of order. Representative, you're out of order. Representative, if you want to ask a question about the election, you can ask the question. But that is not about the election. So, do you have a question about the election, Representative?
I can't because this is a show. No, I just can't.
Representative, do you have a... Hold on, Representative.
Do you really believe...
Representative, do you have a question about the election?
Yes.
All right, then I'll turn your mic on. Ask the question about the
Mr.
election.
Giuliani. Oh, did you turn it off?
If you have a question
Giuliani.
about the election, ask it.
I can hear you.
Mr. Giuliani. Do you believe that the citizens of Detroit, those who have voted, feel like what you're doing today is disenfranchising or attempting to disenfranchise the citizens of Detroit?
Just the opposite. I would say that trying to separate the honest from the dishonest vote is saving the franchise because every dishonest vote deprives an honest person of their vote.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Let's let him, Representative, let's let him answer the question.
Yeah, he just did.
Okay, then...
Yeah,
I think-
he just did.
Oh,
And
then-
so I agree with you. Dishonesty is dishonesty. Right? Right.
Thank you, Representative. All right, Mr. Giuliani, I think that's the questions for you. I know Jenna Ellis asked to say something. I'm not sure what, but what is it you wanted to say? You have some kind of closing statement?
Thank you. And I appreciate all of the members of the panel. And typically what I've done before 2 other states is to explain the Constitution and to explain your duty. However, in this particular legislature, it's very apparent that the circus has only been from one side. The witnesses that have appeared before you today have done so as honest, sincere, and forthright citizens bringing concerns to you. And when you are saying that there are concerns but only looking forward, you are not doing your constitutionally obligated and mandated duty. And what we're here to do today is to present to you the evidence that we've been able to do in the last 4 hours. Mayor Giuliani is very correct that this is only a sample. But no honest person can hear these citizens of your own state today look at what happened in Wayne County with the bullying of the 2 GOP Board of Canvassers when they didn't want to certify the election, and can let this proceed. What the Constitution obligates you to do is to take back your plenary power because the certification was false, clearly. And you can do that, and you should do that, because you have an obligation as state legislators. Now, normally, when I've testified in front of state legislators, it's about policy and it's about legislation. This isn't about policy. It's not about politics. It's not about Democrat versus Republican. It's not even about President Trump versus Joe Biden. This is about election integrity. This is about making sure that the people of the state of Michigan are not disenfranchised based on fraud and corruption. That's the reason that we are here. And I asked you at the very beginning to put aside your party and your preconceptions to listen honestly to the people who've appeared before you. Now, I've been a part of many court trials, and you as the fact finders, of course, can determine and assess their credibility. They have sworn affidavits that they all indicated to you they swore under penalty of perjury. That's actually a very big deal for a citizen to come forward and do that. They're doing this because they're patriots and because America cannot function and exist without free and fair elections. Our founders understood that, and that's why they obligated you to be the last guardians of that process. What we're asking you to do is not something that is unheard of. It's not even something that hasn't been contemplated by our United States Supreme Court, which held in that 1892 case that was then cited favorably in Bush v. Gore, that this is your plenary, meaning absolute, power. And if you, after an investigation, find that you want to certify the results, that is your prerogative. What we asked initially in the filing of our lawsuits, which, Representative, there were only 3 initially. It's not true that there were 39, and we would appreciate the facts being straight.
There are 39.
We have, not from the Trump
Representative,
campaign.
let's continue.
Not from the Trump campaign. And other concerned parties have certainly brought forward lawsuits for election integrity on their own, and we may have similar interests, but the campaign doesn't represent their lawsuits. But what we asked initially was to simply stop the certification because we had significant, not just concern, but actual evidence. And what you've heard today is not just a speculation, it's not just concern, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's people who were there, who were eyewitnesses, who were telling you what they saw. This was election officials who have violated the laws of your state that you as the General Assembly passed in order to preserve election integrity. There are 2 different tracks. You have the laws of the state that election officials on the ground are supposed to adhere to, and then you have the issue with Dominion. Now, absolutely, the mayor is right that you need to audit those machines, but you have more than enough just based on the election official. Absolute fraud, absolutely ignoring the laws of this General Assembly, the laws of your state, to reclaim your authority. That is your duty, it's your constitutional obligation, and that's why we are in front of you. So I'm happy to answer any questions on the constitutionality, on anything, but I would simply urge you that this is not about policy, it's not about politics, it's not about Democrats versus Republicans. This is about making sure that we are not the generation that is the weakest link in America that does not preserve and protect our free and fair elections and our right to select our commander-in-chief into the next generation. That's what this is about. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Questions down here for Representative C.A. Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you so much for being here. And I agree with you, too. It should be about us electing our own elected officials. And wouldn't you agree that we have elected our own elected official? And are you saying that some of us should not, our votes don't count?
Not at all, Madam Representative. The point is that when so much fraud dilutes the vote of the people that you serve and your constituents, then it's irredeemably compromised. And you may like the outcome of this fraud, but imagine if there were witnesses that were testifying to the exact same thing and the outcome had been for President Trump. The point here is that corruption is corruption and it dilutes the vote, and that cannot stand. And so, no, your state has not actually selected anyone for president. I mean, in fact, the representative said, Kanye, maybe, he doesn't know. I think that's where everyone is at, where we don't know. And what we do know is that there has been a massive amount of fraud, irregularities, and
Thank you.
Well, I'm still finishing. Thank you. There have been a massive amount of irregularities. There have been ignorance and complete disregard for the law of the state of Michigan. And so when it is so irredeemably compromised, when you have something like what's happened in Wayne County, you have the intimidation of officials who are trying to do the right thing, intimidation even here in this committee of witnesses. That is unacceptable, and you should reclaim your constitutionally obligated authority so that you can make sure that the person that you send your delegates for genuinely reflects your constituency. And I hope that your constituency would demand and require that of you.
All right, thank you. I don't see any other questions, so thank you for your testimony.
Very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, too. And appreciate everyone who testified here today. We're grateful for that. I know a lot of stories were told here today of brave people who came forward about what they experienced. Can we wait until after the hearing's over, please, people? So we've heard a lot of brave people give stories today that, are difficult for them to tell. And so we're grateful for that. And it's important to listen. It's important to listen to these stories. It's important to allow people to present what they've heard and what they've seen. And we've allowed clerks to testify here, and there'll be more people who testify on other days too. But everyone should be heard. And people shouldn't be heard and bullied. There shouldn't be bullying going on. I thought this was important to bring the mayor here to hear his story, to hear the story of all these people across Michigan who have these stories of fraud, and we had to cut some of them off because it went long. But I'll also say I did think it was important to have a hearing with Republicans and Democrats where we could have debate, and tough questions should be asked and could be asked. I will note, though, that I was disappointed today because I felt that there were opportunities to ask good questions, and those were not taken. Instead, we heard a lot of interjections, a lot of attacks, a lot of just partisan rhetoric, and I was disappointed about that today. And I apologize to those witnesses who had to deal with that. That wasn't fair. But ultimately, I appreciate everyone going through that and telling their story. We wanted both sides to be heard, and I'm disappointed. I feel like we need Dominion to come in and testify in order to know more about this system, and we'll continue to work toward that because we have a lot of questions for them. So with that, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Thank you, Jenna, and thank you to all the witnesses today. So with that, seeing no further business before the committee will stand adjourned.
God bless you.
God bless you.